Okay, guys, we should be recording right now. This is my first version of a reaction video to DIY appliance repairs from yours truly, an appliance repair expert. My name is Lukey. Some people call me Luke. Let's get into it. This video is called How to Correctly Add Freon to Your Refrigerator R134A by Johnny DIY. And I apologize for my raspy voice. I woke up yesterday sounding like a frog. I don't normally sound like this. But let's start the video.
What's up, YouTubers? Johnny DIY here. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to recharge and add refrigerant to your fridge. And
the first red flag of this video is DIY. DIY typically refers to an individual who's not an expert, but just going for it. So, you know, there's a lot of good information online, and there's a lot of bad information. And it's good to know, you know, what the red flags are, how to spot a pro and a non-pro, because a lot of people end up following these instructions, and they, you know, they going down a road that they shouldn't go down.
in this example, I'm going to be doing a mini fridge, but it's going to be the same for any size fridge.
Going to be the same for any size fridge, really? Okay. I mean, how do you figure that?
If you guys are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and check out my other videos. I do a lot of these DIY household and automotive projects. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so we'll come over to the back of the fridge where our compressor is located, and we're going to be using one of these, which is a bullet piercing valve. I'll go ahead and put some links in the description to the tools and supplies I used. But what this is going to do is it's going to pierce a small hole in the copper line to the...
But why? Shouldn't you start off by telling us what the problem is and why you're doing this in the first place?
compressor that we'll be able to add it to. Alright, so we'll pick a little flat spot in the copper piping, and we'll clean it up with a little fine grit sandpaper, get that area clean. So we'll just unscrew these 3 Allen heads all the way, these black ones.
Okay. Now, there are sometimes copper lines all throughout the back of these refrigerators in the mechanical compartment is what they call it. And he didn't specify the differences between the different lines. So how are we supposed to know by watching this video which one to tap into? Because each refrigerator is going to look different from the back, and you want to make sure that you're working on the right tube.
Okay, so with the 2 halves apart, there's a couple of these little adapters for the size of the piping. So we'll just go ahead and fit it and see which one fits, and it looks like the smaller one fits. So we're just going to leave the smaller one nested on top of the bigger one, and it snaps into that little groove. We're going to want to set it up so that we can gain access to the port on the side. Now we'll put those screws in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and snug down all these black Allen heads really tight. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we're going to drive this center Allen in, and this is the piercing valve one. It has a small needle point on the other end, and what that's going to do is it's going to drive and pierce a hole in the copper tubing. You're just going to drive this in all the way. There we go. Now I've got it driven in, so the valve is pierced. Now what we're going to do is back this off, and it's going to open it up, so we'll be able to add the refrigerant. Okay, we'll take the cap off.
Okay, well, he didn't explain how far you screw it in. Well, maybe he did, but he didn't explain how far you back it out. He just said back it out a little bit. So we're already lacking a lot of details here, and when you're doing a procedure like this, you have to be precise to get it right. So we're missing a lot of information to do the job correctly.
Off to our access port. Okay, now you're going to want to get one of these R12 to R134A conversion kits, and we're going to use the long one right here. We're going to screw it onto our access port. Okay, so if you're having to add refrigerant to your fridge, either you've got a really slow leak or you've got a fast leak. And if you got a fast leak, you got to figure out where the leak is and fix that first. But if it's a slow leak over many years, it doesn't really matter. But either way, you should vacuum the system to get all the air out. Alright, so we'll hook the hose up to the end. We'll open it up. Okay, now you can rent this vacuum and gauge set at AutoZone, and I've also got a video on how to do this. And it's also going to tell you if you've got the leak fixed, and it's going to pull the air out of the system.
Okay, so he talked about a leak. He said there's fast leaks and there's slow leaks, which is true, but a leak that takes years, less likely. Usually when there's a leak, it'll be pretty quick within a few days or weeks. And these, one of the big issues with sealed system repairs, which is any repair involving the sealed system, including the compressor, condenser, the evaporator, is the cost of repair and the hassle of repair. This could be kind of fun to play with. This is a cheap fridge. It's like a college dorm room refrigerator. It's probably worth. You can get them for $100, maybe $200. If you paid a pro to do this job for you, I don't know, maybe $400 or $500. But either way, if your refrigerant leaked out before and you don't fix the leak, it's gonna leak out again, and it's probably gonna leak out a lot faster than you'd like to know. So
we'll turn it on. Open up our valve. We're gonna want to get this down to around 30. All right, so when you get it down to 30, close it off. Shut our thing off, our vacuum pump. Now we can see if it'll hold vacuum. We'll just leave it here for a few minutes, and if it holds it, it'll hold. All right, great. We know it's holding vacuum now. Now we can go ahead and shut the valve, and we'll take off the hose. All right, now we can add the refrigerant. So it's going to take regular R134A refrigerant, and if you go ahead and check the back of the fridge or the manual, a lot of the times you'll be able to find the amount, and this is only 1.4 ounces on the mini fridge. So I'll go ahead and put this on the scale, and then when I add the refrigerant, I'll just subtract that amount so I know how much. Okay, and we're going to want to plug in our fridge while we return.
okay, let's go back there. Look at this flimsy scale here. It looks like this can is about to fall off the side of this scale, and I don't know. Every time you pick up the refrigerant and put it back down, it's kind of like you messed it up, and really you need to be able to leave that can on there and not touch it and not disturb that scale at all. We use, typically in the appliance repair world, we use a digital scale, which you can tear. And tear is a button that you can press, which sets everything to 0. So anything that leaves the canister, the scale will show, it'll go into the negative. So if you use 4 ounces, it'll say minus 4 ounces or whatever.
Okay, and we're going to want to plug in our fridge while we recharge it. All right, so we'll hook up the refrigerant line hose. Snaps right on. We're going to open the valve just one turn of the Allen. There we go. Now we're going to add the refrigerant. Just little small bursts. Alright, so I've got about 1.5 ounces out of the can, and it's best to weigh the can by itself like that. And then I also check inside the fridge and make sure that it's getting cold, that tray, and it is. So we'll go ahead and close this valve down good and tight. Now that's closed. Now we can take this off. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this thermometer in the fridge and see if it works.
Okay, when you want to put a thermometer in a fridge, you don't use a meat probe. Use a thermometer that's made for refrigerators. A meat probe, they're not really designed for this, and they're not the most accurate. They're kind of designed for things that are hot, like meat that's 100 or 200 degrees. So you can get a cheap refrigerator thermometer for like $5. Probably at your grocery store, probably a hardware store, Amazon. If that's all you got, whatever. But, if accuracy is important, you might as well use the best tools you can get. Or something that's built for what you're trying to do.
It should be around 32 to 40 degrees. So I'll come back in a couple hours. Alright, awesome. Looks like it's running about 40 degrees. So this job is done.
Okay, that was real quick. I bet that was like maybe, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like 5 minutes after he did this job. Because you see he moved that thermometer from the middle of the fridge up to the freezer area. The freezer area is supposed to be below freezing, right? So you can keep frozen things up in there. So this is not a legit job. Don't follow unprofessionals' instructions like this, especially if you're dealing with an expensive refrigerator and you don't know what you're doing. You could damage something, and you can make a problem worse than it was before. So if you're just messing around with some cheap college dorm refrigerator and you want to learn, and you want to learn the cheap way, okay, you can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts and AutoZone and buy some stuff made for cars and put it in a fridge. But if you want to do this professionally, you're going to have to get real equipment. At least he used a vacuum pump. That's good. And some gauges there. But if it's an emergency and it's an expensive fridge and you need that thing to work properly, you're going to want to hire a pro. All right. Well, that's my first reaction video. Thanks for tuning in. If you got any other appliance repair videos you want me to react to, especially the bad ones, let me know. Put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.